Hello and welcome. This is NTA Tuesday Live and I'm Cyril Stover. I'd like to take out some time to wish all of you there a happy celebration as the Muslim Ummah marks the Eid al-Kabir. Now, the world over is celebrating to commemorate the obedience of Prophet Ibrahim, or if you like, Abraham, to sacrifice his son. Now, this, scholars say, exemplifies the virtues of love, obedience, sacrifice, peaceful coexistence, tolerance, and high ethical standards. It is said that nothing important comes without sacrifice, commitment, and sincerity of purpose that fosters national unity, stability, and development. At a time like this, Nigerians are advised to be good ambassadors of their religion by upholding high moral values, shunning greed, bribery and corruption, hate speech, and other vices that have overwhelmed humans, slowing down development and growth. Now, how well are Nigerians keen into this, especially against reports of betrayal of public trust and confidence? Now, these are some of the issues we'll be tackling tonight on NTA Tuesday Live. But first, let's get to see this report by Aliyu Tukur.
Eid al-Kabir, Eid al-Mubarak, Eid al-Adha, or Feast of Sacrifice, is one of the Islamic celebrations observed worldwide on the 10th of Zulhijjah every year, to honor the willingness of Prophet Ibrahim to sacrifice his son Ismail as an act of obedience to Allah's command. Before Ibrahim could sacrifice his son, Allah provided a ram as substitute. In commemoration of this, an animal, preferably ram, is sacrificed and shared into 3 parts. 1/3 of the share is given to the poor, needy, another to relatives, friends and neighbors, while remaining is retained by the family.
Today is very, very significant to the life of Muslims because they came and they fulfilled the right of Islam. It is a religious right for a Muslim to come out from their various homes to meet together in the mosque and pray, and afterward they will now go home and slaughter their animals as sacrifice to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the creator who give us life. So it signifies unity and gratitude to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
One of the significance that gets together the Muslim Ummah, they will visit one another, and then you even help that the needy, those who doesn't have, we have to extend to them to make sure that they rejoice with us the way we are rejoicing today. And these are the things that is be very good for the Muslims to know, and they should be practicing it all the time.
Apart from distributing the meat, chanting of supplications out before and after the Eid prayers on the first day and throughout the next 3 days are considered an essential part of the festival. The sacrifice of the animal can be done either on the Eid day, second or the 3rd day. Scholars say there are lessons to be learned from the feast of Eid al-Kabir in building a viral nation.
You know, Allah says, I don't need the blood or the flesh of that animal you slaughtered, but the fear of Allah in which you use in slaughtering it that matters. So that is why it is not 5 or 10 rams that matters. And if it's only one you can slaughter, then let it be with the fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
The lessons is we have to learn to sacrifice for others. As we sacrifice to our Creator, definitely Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala command us to make this sacrifice to Him so that we will learn to sacrifice for others. We should make sacrifice for the betterment of our country, Nigeria.
We should have a faith, and in that faith we should really believe strongly in Almighty Allah. And Allah, in His infinite mercy, doesn't forget anything. So if you are thinking in your mind that this is what I want to do, make sure that you are sure of what I say and do it accordingly.
Many argued that the world will continue to be a better place if people abide by the teachings that will bring about the desired unity, peace, prosperity and growth. Aliu Tukur, NTA News.
Well, that report sets the tone for tonight's discussion. Let's introduce our guest to you at this moment. We'd like to welcome to this program Ustaz Abubakar Siddiq Muhammad. Is an Islamic preacher, member of the Sultan Foundation for Peace and Development, also a member of the advisory committee of An-Nur Masjid and Amir, president of Ummah Islamic Foundation. Thanks for being with us tonight.
Thank you very much for having me.
Let me also welcome tonight Reverend Israel Akonji. He is chairman, Christian Association of Nigeria, Can North Central Zone. Thanks for being here.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, and we also join
Have for them, and you see the compassion you show towards them, and the prayers you even send upon them for them to be probably greater than you are. And here a prophet, who's also human as well, is tested with being commanded to offer his own son as a sacrifice. This was the ultimate test. And even in the noble Quran, when Allah Almighty describes this particular test, he describes it bala'un azim, a very grave trial that was put before Prophet Abraham or Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam. And in obeying Allah, Allah rewarded him with what was far greater. So the traditions we are following of the Udhiyah itself actually comes from the traditions of Prophet Ibrahim or Abraham alayhi salatu wasalam. The major reason for us to do this, or the major significance, as I have stated, obedience, sacrifice, and putting one's own desire aside when it comes to following the commands of the Almighty. We all, as people of this nation and people of faith, Muslims and Christians and the Jews as well, because we all share this common denominator of Abraham, maybe Ibrahim, and that's why they're all described as the Abrahamic faith, because we all have that source from him. We learn completely about that sacrifice and that willingness to be selfless and to offer completely everything that we own and who we are to serve the Almighty in the best of ways, because at the end of the day we are his vicegerent on the surface of the earth. The verse describes it as Khalifa, that you are the Khalifa fil ard, you are the vicegerent of the Almighty on the surface of the earth. So you must do that which is good, you must establish good conduct and justice, and promote what is good and peaceful between the communities.
All right, we'll return to you in a moment, but let's come to Reverend. Now, a lot of what he's talked about is also reflected in the tenets of biblical verses. The talk about love, togetherness, sacrifice, obedience to the Almighty. How does this reflect on our general being as a people?
Thank you very much. The Abrahamic religions, as they call them, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, are in convergence on this account of Abraham's faith. The faith of Abraham, trust in God, is that central aspect of the three faiths that hold us together. And you see a lot of commonalities, even though there may be small differences. Yet the basic principle is that Abraham trusted God. Abraham was obedient to God. Abraham was devoted to God. Abraham believed in God. And he was ready to give up in obedience that which he greatly cherished, and that was his son, ready to give him up for God. And we find in Abraham an example of faith in God and trust in God at a time that it was most difficult. He still chose to do the will of God rather than his own will. He did not run away from the tests, and he was ready to give up that which was good, that which he cherished, so that God will be glorified. And what we see in this is that we all are called to a life of devotion to God, obedience to God, and complete faith in God. Trusting God even when we do not understand, even when things appear difficult, and to be sacrificial, also being willing to give up even that which is good, so that God will be glorified. And it has a lot of import for us in the way we live. We are also called to live sacrificially wherever we are, in the family, in the office, in the community, to give up even sometimes that which is good for the good of others, and not to hold on to everything. Being willing to give up because God is in control even after you give up. And when Abraham did this, God surprised him. And definitely, the principle is that there are surprises for those who are sacrificial.
All right. I love the way you put it. Principles, there are rewards for those who believe. But relating this to contemporary, issues, it's not easy, is it? For what you love the most and be told to sacrifice it and just give it up. It's not easy. Now, if those in the past believed, if they had the faith to believe, what has changed from then to now? That today, I'm certain if anyone told you to give up your son, for instance, if you had just one, you wouldn't really want to do that, would you?
Okay. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. For one, I am not a prophet. So, and the beautiful thing about life of prophets, because there are more than 313 of them known, and these are special people ordained to come and teach us about God and about living existence. So, because these are teachers, these are personalities, and this in Islam, Adam alayhi salam is a prophet up to Noah time, and when Adam's generation was become adulterous, Allah wiped them off. Then Noah reestablished the nation, and when Noah's people again becomes adulterous, they were wiped off by the flood. Then Ibrahim alayhi salam, Abraham, becomes the one to now reestablish the nation, and that was why he becomes the father of faith, father of devotion to the one Almighty. Having said that, you see, appointment to prophethood is a responsibility and is a leadership. And leadership, every prophet of Allah have to be tested before they are appointed. Even having been given the appointment of that office, they are still tested. And prophets of Allah will never betray that trust. And that was what played out in the life and time of Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam and his son, who eventually became a prophet at 13. Because both of them became a prophet because of that trust they exhibited in Allah. And what is the message here? The message is, it's not every dream that is real. There are satanic dreams. And that was why when the dream came to Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam to sacrifice the son, the first instance, he discountenanced it. The second instance, then when the third time come, he now know that this must be a message from Allah. Now, again, if you are tested by Allah, and that is a key message for humanity, when Allah tests you and you obey the commandment, he passes you. But when Shaitan tests you and you obey the commandment of Shaitan, he destroys you. And that shows in the submission of Prophet Adam alayhi salam and Ishmael alayhi salam, and is the wife of Ibrahim, which is now the mother of Ishmael, because the father consulted the son that this is my vision, and he consulted the wife, the mother of the only child, that this is my vision. He didn't kidnap the child and say, I am your father. And he didn't go behind the mother and say, I am the Lord of the manor. So, and both of them submitted. And this is a key program in family and national development. Because when both of them are submitted, what else does Allah need? He's not in need of the blood or the flesh, because they have submitted. Allah says we rewarded them with a tradition that becomes continuous. So what that will tell us is that as individual, yes, as ordinary human being, we certainly have our weaknesses. We have our fault lines. But the reference should always go, the standard, the model, it should always go to the prophets who, even though they undergone the same trial as we ordinary human beings are undergoing, how did they pass? They passed the test of life and time through obedience to the commandment. And that is to show us that there is no development, there is no progress, unless you are ready to obey the constituted authority. And the first authority is the creator of the heavens and the earth. So when you obey the law of the owner of the heavens and the earth, that is the first authority. The next authority is to obey the law, the commandment of the homes, the family, which in this case, the father is the head of the family. But just imagine if Prophet Ibrahim, alayhi salam, is a drunkard or is a drug addict, and he told the family that he dreamt. What do you think they will respond to his call? They will say, you are going to take your kain again. And also no woman will believe such a man because he doesn't have character. No son will believe in such a father because he lack character. So what goes for Prophet Ibrahim is that character of purpose, character displayed openly, and the ability to communicate this to the family, that this is what I saw. So that character development is what is lacking in the ordinary human being of today. And when you look at it, this problem of humankind is not just beginning. How many were the children of Prophet Adam alayhi salam when the first son killed the junior brother? So people that will always be obedient in any community, they are not more than 30%. People that will always be disobedient in any community, they are not more than 30%. But you have the 40% who are neither here nor there. And those are the people the two sides are recruiting from. So when you have good people running the system, you find the 40 who are neither here nor there trying to belong. But when you have criminals leading, you also find them recruiting from the 40. So no matter how perfect a system you establish, there will always be lawbreakers. And no matter how bad the system pretends to be, there will always be good people. But our prayer is that we will always want, every woman wants to marry a good man. And good man is not because the man is handsome. He wants a man of character. But what do we have these days? People feel that every woman is looking for a rich man. But ask an average woman. They want a woman, a husband they can trust. How many of them out there? Every child wants a father that is devoted. How many of them do we have out there? Everybody is in the rat race. Every man wants a good wife. But they are looking at the beauty everybody is making over rather than building character. And every nation wants a good leader. But everybody wants to have it easy way out. No, there has to be dedication. There has to be humility, and there has to be purposeful mission. And of course, you pray. But of course, we normally pray and pray and pray without not wanting to act. So when all of these are aggregated, you will see it in the life and time of Prophet Ibrahim. And that is why it becomes a model. Allah says we make him an ummah, a nation for mankind. And that is why we are here.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Dawood. But let's go over to our Maiduguri Center and link up with Dr. Garba Abari, who's the Director General of the National Orientation Agency. Dr. Abari, so far we have looked at the religious significance of this, the faith, obedience to authority. I want you to relate this beyond faith and religious beliefs. I want you to relate this to human social existence of how we can as a people relate to symbols of authority and even imbibe the tenets of being obedient, of sacrifice, which is the underlying factor of this period. So let's hear you.
Thank you very much, Cyril. Thank you very much, Nigeria, and Eid Mubarak. I have listened very carefully to all the interventions by the three scholars on this platform. But there is a you don't separate the teachings or the principles of the Abrahamic religions, whether Judaism, Islam, or Christianity, from good conduct, from sacrifice, from good behavior, from obedience to constituted authority. And where a society actually lacks this, then it begins to tread on the path of destruction. If you take, for example, the wordings of our national anthem, to serve Nigeria with all my strength, to defend her unity, to arise for compatriots, Nigerians call obey, to serve our fatherland with love, to serve our fatherland with love and strength and faith, with heart and might. Now, all of this put together, you can say clearly that there is a central message, that of faith. Now, what are we as Nigerians professing? We are either majorly Christians or majorly Muslims. And the teachings of both religions revolve around love, sacrifice, devotion. Now, love, sacrifice, the sacrifice can mean here your ability to put away your petty concerns for the concerns of the other person. This, we have seen, is largely lacking. And it is lacking now more than we had known in the previous past. Now, in the connection between what challenges we are passing through as a nation and the lessons of sacrifice, the celebration of Eid al-Adha, which is the celebration of sacrifice, now clearly challenges us, interrogates us, makes us to ask the question, where is it actually? Did we miss the bus? Where did we miss the bus? In our professing our respective religious beliefs vis-a-vis our responsibility as citizens to one another, as citizens, as neighbors to one another, and as a group of citizens belonging to a particular geographical location called Nigeria. It is very important that we ask this question because the conversation has been going on. How much of love have we seen in our fatherland in recent times? How much of sacrifice have we seen? How much have we been able to be of good parentage? How much have our parents or have parents been parenting? How much have we obeyed the laws of the country? How much of good citizens are we? All of these are sins that can be located within the prism, within the context of the lessons of Prophet Abraham, his obedience to God, his sacrifice, his devotion, and of course, the lessons cannot actually be as perfect because the Abrahamic example was divine. He was sent in as a messenger. He was a prophet to set certain principles which we try, or we should try as much as possible to copy and to lead by. So in the context of our country today, the challenges we are passing through are so big, and one way of addressing these challenges will be to go back to what our respective religions teach and what we are also professing to be. We must be obedient, we must be sacrificial, we must be of character, and we must be prepared to live as good ambassadors of one another, or good ambassadors of our families, our homes, our country. Unless we are able to get all this, all the common thread that I have said have passed or had passed through the three Abrahamic religions actually will have no direct meaning to our national development and to, of course, the kind of society that we wish to build and we wish to see, given the realities of Nigeria today.
All right, thank you so much, Dr. Garba Abari. And just as he was speaking, we're joined by Professor Shettima Ali Dikwa. He's an international scholar and socio-political analyst. He is linking us up from our Kaduna Network Center. Prof, thanks for being with us tonight.
Our in-law. I was not late anyway.
Well, you've had the benefit of listening to all the other guests tonight and how they've related this, some might want to call it this act of faith and belief, and others might say an act of sacrifice. And someone was told to sacrifice what they loved best, and in this case, a son that always wanted. And tonight we're trying to relate this to how society in general operates. What are those things that we can draw from these, what has happened and which has been captured both in Islam and in biblical studies?
It was a departure from the original norms that Prophet Abraham, they were cleared, and then another messenger was sent. And that by saying Prophet Abraham, the sacrifice of what he did exactly, Prophet Abraham, having been the father of all, that through Ishmael, Prophet Muhammad came, through Isaac, the Jewish prophets came. All the prophets came, except through Ishmael and so on. That was to say that no matter your tribe, your background, and so on, what is important is your own character in the eyes of God. And hence, they said, we created you of nations, tribes, and so on, so that you will know one another. That is exactly when you say we can have a Khalifa Dikwa in another place. No, we'll say Khalifa can be found anywhere, but Khalifa Dikwa will refer to somebody from Dikwa in Borno State. This is the identity, even apart from the tribal marks that we no longer do. So nation building does not come with an elitist people who always think of themselves, their wives and their own children, and those who are afraid of sacrificing. Leading a country is not for cowards. It's not for people who are afraid to say the truth, because truth does not need any makeup. For us now, in our own nation building, we have come a long way as a country. We ought to have been more developed. Our own contemporaries were the Singapore and other Asian tigers. Here we are. We were kidnapped as a people by the tiny elite, less than 1%, dictating or only copying aliens, other countries, and so on. Even in their own discussions, they love to refer to London or Washington or Atlanta or all these places as if Britain, France, and America were not built by human beings. What is wrong for us to now stay home, like what General Buhari used to say in 1984? This is our country. There is no other country than Nigeria. We shall remain here and salvage it together. Cyril Stober, as I'm talking to you, the elite, now if you just give them the pictures of newscasters on NTA and those presenting beautiful programs that unify us, they will hardly know the faces. That to show you that they are always looking outside rather than thinking of our own country. And that is, in the discussion, we will talk about it. I hope you will give me 3 hours for me alone.
Oh, well, Prof, we'll return to you. There's still so much you will talk about. We'll come to you. But back here in Abuja, another aspect of what we're talking about tonight is, yes, the divine instruction was given. Yeah. Sacrifice what you love best. And in this case, it happened to be a son. Ordinarily, everyone would say, how can I sacrifice my flesh and blood, my son? But the prospect here is that at the end of it all, at the last minute, as they say, at the 11th hour, there was a change. No, it's no longer your son, but an animal that you should sacrifice. Now, a lot of scholars have looked at this, and they've said, isn't this a pointer to the fact that human blood should not be spilled? Even the Creator, having tested the faith of His creation, in this case, He's asked, sacrifice your son to me. Test the obedience, test the faith. At the last minute, when the faith had been placed implicitly in the Creator, said, no, not the human, but an animal. And scholars say that is a pointer to the fact that human blood is sacrosanct. How have we interpreted it as humans today?
Well, unfortunately, not very well. You see, in this particular narration, when we look at, and one thing I wanted to also buttress, the sign of obedience, when we talked about just Ibrahim or Abraham, even his son Ismail was also obedient to the Creator in answering him and even saying, oh, my father, do as you have been commanded. Right. So there was something very unique of this. The father was given a command, and then the son says, oh, you father, this is your command, do it and I will obey you. And by the will of God, you will find me patient. At that last minute when he was to carry out this act, and the Almighty called unto him and said, oh, you have truthfully carried out this command that was placed before you. We replace with something greater for you. As you stated, it shows the sanctity of human life. Islam establishes this, as we have a verse in the Quran that tells us that whoever saves a life, it is as though you have saved the entire humanity. And whoever takes a life is as though you have taken the life of the entire humanity. Unjustly, that is. Where you take the life of someone unjustly, you take the life of someone in a cruel manner, as we have seen globally what is going on in this part of the world or in different parts of the world where for no just cause people are killed. And some even try to base this on religion. There is no faith that promotes any form of terror or any form of bloodletting or things that, takes the lives of others. Because this life you are taking, you have no power to give life. So why should you take one that you have no power to give? This is first. Second is that life you are taking happens to be the loved one of someone else. A father, a son, a brother, a sister, a husband. And the pain of losing a loved one, especially when it comes to some, through an unjust means or an unjust cause, is so difficult for anyone to bear. And these are part of the things that has led to us being pulled apart as a nation. When you hear of the crisis or crises that are happening, whether it's in the northern part of the country or in the southern part, and whether it's based on tribal or ethno-religious or whatever happens, you would always see that there is a group that happens to be the larger number of victims, and they would want their revenge. And then there are those who happen to be the perpetrators who are also at some point in time victims. So it becomes a dangerous cycle of a person saying, I was once a victim, now I want to revenge. A lot of also our current day clergymen, I must say, whether from the Muslim side or Christian side, are sometimes not helping matters so well. We should be a people that look beyond the emotions, beyond the the stories we get right before us, and look at the greater good and look at the greater impact of maybe the sermons we give or the speeches we make. In looking at the lives of all of the prophets, there were great trials and tests that they went through, every single one of them. And we go back to them as role models because they teach us the importance of truly having patience and the importance of also believing in the Almighty over and above anything else. And for us, that is what we strive to continue to push, continue to tell our brothers in faith, and also to show, because it's one thing to speak and it's another thing to act.
Right.
Eid al-Kabir is one of the greatest means of acting, of showing that love, of pulling your neighbors together. I mean, I remembered growing up, you know, when we would do the slaughtering, nobody knew who was a Muslim or a Christian. Even till today, you know, while I was coming to the studio, I was like, okay, should I come with some meat? If I knew Reverend Israel would be here, I would obviously have come with a whole ram, you know. And this for us was how we grew up, in a home, in a community where it's Eid, everyone comes to your home to eat and to celebrate. Right. And this is what we need to continue to build or to promote as leaders in terms of our faith and also as a people in this nation, in order to ensure that our nation is better than we are today.
Right. Well, sadly, these are things that are, well, declining these days. Yeah. But our phone lines are already open, and we have our very first caller on tonight's program, Ibrahim calling from Lagos. Hello, Ibrahim. Barka da Sallah. Oh, well, we lost that call from Ibrahim, but just to say, try again and keep the calls coming through. And we do expect tonight that we'll have so many calling in because of the issues we're talking about. But again, well, like he said, a lot of people will tell you, growing up, no one knew who was a Christian, a Muslim, and if you care, an animist. People just went ahead with their business, they related with each other. The binding factor was the humanity. So we ask today, what has happened to the humanity? Because people will tell you, there are countries in the world today that don't really push with any religious tenets, and yet they're progressing. So what is wrong with a country that is so deeply steeped in religion and yet things are going wrong?
The attitude of Abraham and our current society. Abraham was ready to give up that which was good, if that was going to please God, since he could not even explain why that should happen, but then he was ready to give it up. And in our own generation, it is acquisition and acquisition and acquisition. Taking every place that people are, they want to take more and take more. And there are several people at the margins of life that need to be assisted, and even to just be paid their salaries. We have people who have worked in this country for several months, they are not being paid, you know, and yet some people are in charge. They are building up empires for themselves, trying to acquire for themselves, for their children, for their children's children. That is not Abrahamic. Abraham was ready to give up. If it will please God, he will give up. And I think that these days we need to learn to give up. If we live in a community, whatever we have, let's give it up. If you are blessed in the community, you can give up of your wealth to repair the road there, to make a well there, to make a tap water system for the people. Just a life that is a life of giving, because God himself has been so kind to us, has given us so much, and he expects us to extend this to other people. So I think we should deaccumulate and look at people that are in need and be willing to make sacrifice for them. I think that is important. Now, coming to how we used to live, there was so much closeness in those days. Christians and Muslims, we lived in the same large compound. We respected one another. We ate together. You know, the dish from that house and the dish from this house will be different, and each person will want to have a taste of it. That was the way we lived. I remember growing up as a little boy. My father was a pastor. when he was alive. And my mother, they will want to travel for some church conference programs, and they will leave me with a Muslim neighbor. You know, I will be with her, and until they were back, I was with her. She would back me up and carry me about. So as I grew up, of course, I was always looking for her, and we shared a lot of things. So those good days seem to be gone. In fact, sometimes when I think of our children, I wonder how they will live in Nigeria if we who even had that kind of taste now have ended up in this way. There must be conscious effort for us to celebrate our humanity, love one another, and Christians, I always say, if a Muslim has done something good, a Christian should praise him, congratulate him. Let it be seen that we are grateful for what that Muslim has done. So also, if a Christian has done something good, Muslims should be willing to speak about the good thing the Christian has done. Let's celebrate one another and not just be quiet when, okay, a Christian has done something good. Because I'm a Muslim, I will be quiet. I will not even say thank you to him. Or a Muslim has done something good, because I'm a Christian, I will just be quiet. I won't say anything to even praise him for what he has done. You know, so we want to only celebrate our own. When the other person has done so well, we don't come out to celebrate. So I think that we should know that we can have unity in our diversity, and our diversity beautifies us, and we celebrate our diversity. And unity is not necessarily uniformity, that we must always do things the same way, but we can really celebrate this north and south, east and west. Nigeria is so blessed. You know, what you don't have in some places in the south, you have in the north. What you don't have in the north, you have in the south. We complement ourselves so well. It's such a great country. I think Nigeria is one of the greatest countries in the world. If we can just come together and work together and celebrate even our diversity and know that, yes, we are different, but then we are one humanity before God. And Abraham reminds us again that there is a kind of common descent of all of us, which should help us to strengthen our commonalities.
Right, thank you. Let's go back to the phone, sir. I hope we can get this through. This is coming from Suleja. Thank God, calling in from Suleja. Hello. Are you still with us? Well, okay. Hello, thank God. Are you still there?
Evening. Good evening.
Good evening.
Hello?
Yes, go ahead. Your name is on screen. It means your call is through to the studio. We're waiting to hear from you.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Right, go ahead.
I think the problem where we are getting it wrong is the mindset. Everybody feels that this religion is the most perfect one, the other one is not okay. But I have lived all my life in the north, and most of my friends are the Muslim folks. I have so many of them as friends. But during the Eid, I get so many gifts from them. During the Christmas time too, they get the same from me too. It is left for us not minding the religion you are. See everybody as one. My best friend is a Muslim. I live in the same house with him. I'm a Christian. It is from the inside. Once we drop this religious sentiments and all this tribalism aside, I think it will help in growing this nation. The moment we see everybody as one, being it from the Muslim side or from the Christian side, everything will move normal in this country. Like today being the Salah Day, so many gifts from the Muslim folks. not minding that I'm a Christian. They visit me, I visit them. With your free mind, everybody will get things right in this country. Good evening, all.
Right, thank you very much. Thank God. Well, we'd just like to encourage all those who would be calling in. Just go, try calling. We know that sometimes the network can be erratic, but do put in that effort and call in. And once you get through, just go straight to the point. Don't even bother about greeting those in the studio. Happened that in the past, people went to schools, but we didn't hear so much about those who were trying to Christianize others, or those who wanted to Islamize others. Why has that suddenly become an issue today?
I think I have different perspective to all of this. Number one is Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam explained why did need for the son to be sacrificed. He explained it. Ordinarily, every prophet of Allah are charitable. And among those that are noted for charity is Prophet Ibrahim. Every guest that enters his house must eat. And there was a day he slaughtered 1,000 cattle, 1,000 cows, a herd of cattle. And people were surprised that, you are so generous. You slaughtered this, and he said, what are you saying? Even if God gave me a son, I can sacrifice him. And that was what led to, he just said it not as a vow, carelessly. Because at a man of close to 90 plus, and doesn't have a child, and he was desiring it. So Allah held him onto that promise that if I give you a child, you can even sacrifice it. And now he has fulfilled it. And that means that Allah is not in need of flesh, of animal, or blood. If he's not in need of animal flesh or blood, is it human flesh or human blood is going to need? Certainly no. Number two, there are problems all over the world, including Nigeria, because arms and ammunition are now business. There are countries that are manufacturing all these guns and all these arms. They are not made in Nigeria. And they must make profit. Who are those that are causing trouble?
They want to sell them.
People are causing trouble here and all over the world. So if some people are making arms and ammunition and there must be returns, it means there will be no rest all over the world. Why are we not looking into that? And who are those that are selling to government? The same source. Who are those that are selling to these criminals? The same source. The guns that are being used in Afghanistan, I'm not sure it's being produced in Afghanistan. The one that is used by IPOP is not made by the Igbos. The one that is being used by so-called Boko Haram is not made in any part of the north. Who are those that are manufacturing it? And the same quality is the same quality that the government even has, if not better, superior. So what are we talking about here? We know our common enemy. It is for us to look inward. Like the prof in Maiduguri said, we just need to develop our homemade technique to manage ourselves. Having said that, now you look at people that are saying there is no more camaraderie. Look, every household right now of a Muslim slaughtered an animal. Who are those that are going to eat it? It's the Christians and the Jew. It's for those that didn't slaughter animal. Virtually every household of a Muslim all over the world will slaughter an animal. There are deacons, there are pastors, there are prophets, so-called, that have booked down for my meat. I have not eaten meat since daytime. So it's our colleagues in the offices. So which story are we really narrating? You can see the caller from Suleja. He said his friend is a Muslim. He has received gifts all over. And it's the same thing all over. I think we are being allowed ourselves to be programmed. Not to say the good narrative of us. Of course, good stories don't sell. So Nigerians are innately good, and we are still good. I will tell you that there's no part of this country I've not visited. And it's not everybody in this country that are Muslims. And there's no part of this country I've not welcomed. And if you come to my house, you will see animists, you will see Catholic, you will see everybody is there. So which story we are looking at the city center, and we are looking at the politicians who are supposedly Muslim or Christian. You don't even know which one they belong, because they are also the ritualists and the kidnappers. So what are we talking about here? So we are allowing the politicians who are greedy, who are possibly agents of misfortune, selling all this machinery of war to us to destroy ourselves. And you are allowing them to dictate our mindset and telling us Muslims don't like Christians, Christians don't like Muslims, and telling us Yoruba don't like Hausa or Hausa don't like Igbos. And they are still trading together. This same set of people are the ones that will also, when they become governor, loot the treasury. When they become senator or whatever they call themselves, put the nation to ransom. So, and there are Muslims among them, so-called. There are Christians among them, so-called. There are those who doesn't have anything among them. And what are you talking about? We don't allow these people to determine our narrative. Of course, media is very powerful. But these days, when a Muslim wants to obey the law of Islam, you call him a fanatic. When a lady wants to use hijab and dress decently, you say he's a fanatic. When I say I don't want to smoke or I'm not drinking alcohol, you say I'm not social. Then what are you talking about? So you made those that are ready to obey the law, you give them complex, as if they are not